There are two words at the center of every loan you'll ever sign. One means to owe, the other means to believe. Once you understand the second one, the entire debt-based economy stops being scary and starts making sense. Because debt isn't just about money, it's about trust. And to understand why, we need to go back 4,000 years. 4,000 years ago, a king stood in front of his kingdom and did something no modern government has ever dared to try. He wiped out every personal debt in the land. Not a bailout, not a payment plan. All of it. Gone. By decree. And he wasn't the only one. Historians have counted roughly 30 of these clean slate proclamations across ancient Mesopotamia. We don't really have a word for that anymore, and that's strange, because right now, the world owes more money than at any point in recorded history. By the end of this video, you'll understand what debt actually is, why it's not the villain most content makes it out to be, why the amount of it just hit a level nobody alive has ever seen, and why not understanding one specific word is quietly costing you money every month. Here's the scale. Global debt, every government, company, and household combined, hit a record $348 trillion at the end of 2025. The U.S. government alone owes just under $40 trillion, and American households owe $18.8 trillion in mortgages, credit cards, and other loans. This isn't some Wall Street abstraction. It's the water we're all swimming in, whether you've ever signed a loan or not. So what is debt actually? Look at the word itself. Debt comes from the Latin debere, meaning to owe or to have something kept away from you. But there's another word sitting on the other side of every loan. Credit. It comes from the Latin credere, meaning to believe. And put those two ideas together and something interesting happens. Every loan is built on two things. Someone owes, and someone believes they'll be paid back. That's the foundation of the entire system. Debt isn't simply borrowed money. It's a promise backed by belief. But if debt is just a promise, why does a $348 trillion pile of promises feel so dangerous? To answer that, we have to go back to that ancient king. Ancient Mesopotamia ran on debt much the same way we do. Loans, interest, compounding. Babylonian students were actually trained to calculate compound interest using real loan problems, and the mathematics was brutal. At a common ancient interest rate, a debt could double in just 5 years and multiply roughly 64 times over 30 years. Their rulers understood something we've mostly forgotten. Debt that can't be paid won't be paid. So every few decades, they wiped the slate clean. Centuries later, the same basic idea appeared in religious law. Leviticus commands a Jubilee year every 49 years. Debts were forgiven. Servitude was ended. Land was restored. Not because a king happened to feel generous, but because the system itself demanded a reset. Ancient economies built in a reset button. Modern ones didn't. And here's where things get uncomfortable. We don't do clean slates anymore. Instead, we have something Babylon never dealt with at this scale. Revolving debt that can compound month after month, year after year, unless you actively fight it. Americans currently carry about $1.26 trillion in credit card debt, and the average interest rate is around 21%. Think about what that means. If you carry a balance and only make the minimum payment, you're not really making much progress. You're often paying the bank for the privilege of continuing to owe it. But before this turns into another panic video about how debt is destroying the world, here's the part that gets left out. The Fed tracks something called the Household Debt Service Ratio. Basically, it measures how much of your income actually goes toward debt payments. Right now, it's about 11.2%. Before the 2008 financial crisis, it peaked near 15.85%. So by that particular measure, the average American household is actually in better shape than it was before the crash, even though total debt is bigger than ever. And this is where economists genuinely disagree. Some look at the debt service ratio and say the system is fine. Debt is simply how a growing economy operates. Others look at $348 trillion of global debt and the growing interest burden on governments and say we're building something that eventually has to break. Both sides are using real numbers. They're just asking different questions. But here's the turn. None of that debate matters much if you don't know which side of the system you're standing on. Because in a debt-based economy, there are essentially two positions: the side that earns the interest and the side that pays it. And this brings us to the part that changes how you see money itself. Every dollar sitting in your bank account right now exists because somebody, somewhere, signed a promise to pay it back. Read that again. The money in your account isn't just sitting there independently. It is connected to a chain of promises. The economy doesn't simply run on money. It runs on trust. Wearing a money costume. Understand the trust, and you understand the machine. So what do you actually do with that? Nobody's coming to cancel your mortgage. There's no Jubilee Year waiting on the calendar. But you can borrow the one lesson the ancient world already learned the hard way. Debt is only dangerous when it's invisible. Know your interest rate. Know your own debt service ratio. And every time you borrow, ask yourself the question Sumerian scribes were being trained to ask 4,000 years before you were born. How many years until this quietly multiplies itself? Because that's the real danger with debt. Not the number on the statement, not the word loan. The danger is borrowing without understanding the belief underneath it, the interest attached to it, and the time required to repay it. If this changed the way you look at the number on your statement, that's the whole point of this channel. The second-order stuff nobody hands you a manual for. Subscribe if you want more of it, and I'll see you in the next one.